everybody, and welcome, friends and family. I've done a name change. Some of you may have noticed, and some of you may have not. It was my son's idea. Well, it's a long story behind it and everything, but I do like the name, so I changed it and to mean Mama's Kitchen. But today I want to talk to you about something, and that is called salt pork, fat back, whatever you call it in your area. I remember my dad back on the farm. My dad's passed away, but he really did things when he butchered animals the real old-fashioned way. My father didn't smoke cure hams, he purely salt cured them. And the same way with his Midlands, as he would call them, and the fat back or salt pork, it was done in pure salt. And when he would go to take it out, there'd be a good 1/4 inch, of salt on the top of it. What you're buying, a lot of people buy, maybe at Walmart, is this little packet. And it's more injected than anything. It's not done the old-fashioned way. Has no keeping power behind it either. It doesn't keep very well. Salt pork, it seemed like it kept forever. I mean, it never seemed to go bad. But the kind you buy at the stores nowadays that you can get your hands on is very expensive. It really is. But I found this. This is good. It's not salt pork, but they call it pork fat. And it is the exact same stuff that salt pork is made from, except it's not salted. And I don't care if it's salted or not, because the salting on your fat back, or whatever you may call it in your area, some people call it salt pork, some call it streaky lean, Midland. There's just depends on where you live at, what you call it, fat back. But anyhow, this is the same thing, but without the salt. Now, I found a store here, and it's the only store I know of that carries this. And I looked up on it by pure accident. It actually is in the freezer section. And I looked at it, and at first I thought that's what it was salt pork. I've actually found it so thick, I could slice it just like salt pork is sliced and fry it. When we were kids growing up, we had salt pork fried for breakfast like bacon. This stuff is delicious. I don't know how many of you out there know about hog jaw and salt pork, or, fat back, whatever you want to call it, but we fried it for breakfast like you did a bacon. And I've actually found pieces of this thick enough to do that with. But I buy this for my beans, okay? And I separate it, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to separate this because you can see this is a pretty big piece here. And I will lay them flat, the pieces, inside a Ziploc bag or freezer bag, and let them freeze. This stuff can keep forever. Fat freezes. It freezes solid. So this is not going to go bad on you at all. And look at the price on this, $2.29 for this entire package. I would advise look around. You can find salt pork. There's nothing special about it other than it's fat. It's fat sometimes with a small amount of lean in it, but it's not extra special. Now, maybe what your, grandfather and them did, because, it being completely salt cured, it had a lot of salt to it. And the salt, we always had to boil our salt pork before we could fry it because it was just too salty. But anyhow, this is a really wonderful alternative. Look around at some of your smaller stores locally. Not Walmart, because you're not going to find this at Walmart. But look, and if you go to a smaller store, or even one that maybe caters, to a certain culture or something, if you talk to them, there's a good chance they might order something like this for you. They may start carrying it in the store. I've actually done that at a store we have here, and they will start carrying a certain item that I particularly like. But I just wanted to tell you about this because this is definitely an alternative, and a lot of people don't know or realize that pork fat is the same thing as salt pork without the salt. Okay? And its keeping power is better than the salt pork we're getting at our stores today because fat can be frozen. Now, this I wanted to show you. This is how I preserve my beans. This is how I save them. I have a food saver I bought years ago. Never really used it very much because I found the bags to be, too expensive. But like all things that we buy that later we tell ourselves, well, I'm not so interested in this, kind of gets stuck in a closet. But I decided, because I told myself, you know what, I really need a good way to, preserve my beans, save my beans. And so I decided, because buckets, I didn't care for that bucket method. I could end up with a ton of buckets. Of course, I have a pretty big bin full of this, but this is what I use my food saver for. And I feel it's worth it to preserve the beans in this. And I'm decided to make this video because I'm going to put some beans in my cooker. And I had just picked up this fat, salt pork, whatever you want to call it. It's not salt pork fat. And this is what I use in all my beans. And it's wonderful. And I wanted to let you guys know because, you may find something like this in your store. You actually may find a package of pork fat. Because they sometimes sell this because you can make your lard. Lard is made from this. So it's, some stores will carry pork fat for that reason. There's cracklins. Well, there's cracklins. The skin is on the back of this fat here, and people make cracklins from it. So I thought you might, like the alternative because of the price. Because the only difference is the other has salt, and it's more injected, and it's a brine and a liquid. It's not done the old-fashioned way like they used to do on the farms. And if you can, try this for your beans. This is what I do with my beans, and it works wonderful. It really does. Well, I hope you found this informative. I really hope you do. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you, the name change is okay with you guys. The Home Sweet Home, if you looked it up, I was buried in the sea, and there was other people that had that name. And I just thought I'd go to this name. So, oh well. And I can say, look for the fat. Okay? It's cheap. God bless you, and may you have a blessed day.